Today in Concept 2, we're going to go a step further with ordered pairs, and we're going to identify something known as domain and range. Okay? The domain and range are just ways to identify different pieces of the coordinate plane. Okay? So your domain is going to represent all of your x values of ordered pairs, and your range is going to represent all of your y values of an ordered pair. Okay, we're in this section talking about relations, and a relation is a set of ordered pairs. So we're going to be looking at a set of ordered pairs and organizing the domain and range, the x values and the y values, in three different ways. We're going to organize them in a table. We're going to graph them and then put them in a mapping diagram, which is over here. Okay, so these are three different ways that you might have seen already. If not, they're not that difficult, and we're going to get used to them today. All right, so let's just jump right into things. Let's first start off by putting these things in a table. And because we know that an ordered pair is written x, comma, y, therefore we know that all of the first numbers in each ordered pair are going to represent my x's. So what I mean by that is, in this ordered pair, the first one is an x. In this ordered pair, this 0 is an x. And in this ordered pair, that 3 will be your x. So we're going to put those things here in our table to represent them, 1, 0, and 3. And then we all know that our y values are going to come after. And that will be the second number in the ordered pair. So 1, 2, and -2. Now we can't just put them wherever we want. They have to go with the x value. They have to stay together. They're a pair, okay? So our first one came with 1. So our second ordered pair, 0, went with 2. And in our third ordered pair, 3 went with -2. Okay, so that's pretty much it. That's how we represent this relation in a table. All right, now we're going to, oh, by the way, this can be called a table, or you might also see it called a T-chart. Either way, same thing. Okay, so let's go over to graphing. We know by now, we learned in lesson 1 how to graph points, and to be perfectly honest, you should have already known how to graph points. This is something you've probably been doing since middle school. So let's go ahead and graph these points. We have 1, 1, so start at your origin. 1, 1. Just copied really lightly, and I'm so sorry that your paper looks the way mine does. 0, 2, so we're staying at 0 and going up to this point is going to be on the y-axis. And then we have a +3, -2, so we need to go down. Okay, so we have these 3 points. We don't need to do anything with that. You don't need to connect them. We just need to represent them on a graph, and we have. Okay, so this is what you'll be doing when it says to represent them on a graph. Now let's go over to the thing that might be new. This is a mapping diagram. Okay, now the specific thing that you need to pay attention to when you're doing a mapping diagram is that now your x values need to go in order. And what I mean by that is, if you look over here back at our table, we had our x values not in order, not in numerical order, okay? So when you're putting them on a mapping diagram, they do need to go in order. Order does matter. So 0 should come first, then 1, then 3. Okay, so let's go over here, and your x values will always go in your first circle, and your y values will go over here in your second circle. All right. Well, I have put all of my x values in order, like I said, 0, 1, and 3, and your y values, they also need to go in order. So this time you're going to be splitting them up. They don't need to go together, okay? They just need to be in numerical order. So -2 will come first, then 1, then +2. -2, 1, and +2. Now, the nice thing here about mapping diagram, even though you've split up the pairs, what your final step with this is going to be is to connect the pairs back together with a line. So we had 1 with 1, so we need to draw a line to connect them. Then we had 0 with +2. Here's 0, here's +2, so we need to draw a line connecting those. And then we had 3 with -2, so connect a line from 3 to -2. And this is how you would represent a mapping diagram. Okay, the last step here is now we need to actually write our domain and range of this relation. Now, when I'm writing my domain and range, I like to go from my mapping diagram because in the mapping diagram, it already has to be put in order. And just like with the mapping diagram, the domain and range also has to be written in numerical order. So you can do it from these other two, but it's just, especially from the graph, it's going to be a lot tougher. With the table, not too tough, just make sure you put them in order, okay? So from the mapping diagram, our domain is all the numbers that go with X. Now you can remember this because we always say, when we talk about domain and range, we always say the word domain first, then range. Rarely do you ever hear anybody say range and domain. So we always say domain and range. And then with ordered pairs, we always say X and Y. That's how I remember it, just by the order that I say them in. So our domain is going to be 0, 1, and 3. And our range is going to be -2, 1, and 2. Okay. One thing that you've probably noticed is when we start talking about domain and range, we need these little things called brackets, and they go like this when you draw them. Along the bottom of your paper, you might want to take some time to kind of practice how these are supposed to look because it takes a little bit getting used to. All right, so let's flip over to the next page and do one more together. Oops, my marker bled through the page. Oh well, we can deal with it. Okay, so we need to express a relation between these three ordered pairs, and once again, express it as a table, a graph, and a mapping diagram. So let's get started. Remember, this can be called a t-chart or a table, so that will be our table. Our X value, we have -2, 1. I'm sorry, -1. Oops. Here we'll have 3 and 3. And the last ordered pair is 4 and 3. Okay, let's graph these points represented in a graph. We have -2, -1. We have 3, 3, so start your origin 3 up 3. And then we've got 4, 3, so right next to it. Okay, like I said before, you don't need to connect these points, just put them on the graph and represent them. And now let's go over to our mapping. Remember, with mapping, we need two things: numerical order and connect with a line. Okay, two things, 1 and 2. All right, so remember, in your mapping, your X's go in the first circle, your Y's go in the second one. So let's look here. We need to put this in numerical order, and actually in the table it already is, so all we need to do is rewrite it. -2, 3, and 4. And then our Y's also in order. Okay, now one thing I would like to point out, in your Y's, there's 2 3s, but you only need to write it once in your mapping diagram. So you're gonna go -1 and 3. Okay, when you have a number twice in your X or your Y, when you get to your mapping diagram and at the bottom here when we write the domain and range, you only need to write it once. Okay, so what that means when you connect with a line is you're going to have 2 lines that go to 3. All right, now we have -2 with -1, draw a line between those. We have 3 and 3, and we have 4 and 3. So this will be our mapping diagram for this one. Okay, so we have to, last but not least, write this as domain and range, a set of domain that is -2, 3, and 4. And our range, just -1 and 3. Okay. Down here, this is our last example. I'm going to have you finish this example, okay? So here, once again, you've got a set of ordered pairs. You have 4 of them this time. And I need you to represent these 4 ordered pairs in a table, graph them, and then a mapping diagram. Make sure you pay attention to your mapping diagram and follow the steps that I gave you. And don't forget to write your domain and range down at the bottom.